Hey guys, this is Mr. Mood again. Today we're going to talk about calculating the rate of change. At the end of this video, students will be able to calculate the rate of change from the following representations: ordered pairs, table, graph, and a verbal description. Let's recall from the last video that rate of change can be found using the following formulas: delta dv over delta iv, or delta y over delta x. Let's find the rate of change between the points -3, 4 and 5, 2. In this case, I'm given x and y values, so I'm going to use delta y over delta x. I'm going to take my ordered pairs, I'm going to line one on top of the other. I know that delta x is going to go from the left-hand side because both the 3 and the 5 are x values. I take those two numbers and I find the delta. In this case, it's going to be 5 minus -3. I always do the second value minus the first. In this case, I get delta x is equal to 8. So I replace that on the bottom with 8. On the right, I'm going to find delta y. So I take the two y values and I subtract them, the ending value minus the beginning. In this case, that's going to be 2 minus 4, and I figure out that my delta y is equal to -2. And I replace delta y on top of my rate of change with -2. Then I simplify that fraction and I get -1/4. So my rate of change in this case is -1/4. That tells me that my y decreases by 1 as my x value increases by 4. Now let's find the rate of change from a table. So I know that delta x is going to come from the left and delta y is going to come from the right. So I first calculate delta x on the left. In this case, I'm going to do 0 minus -4, which gives me +4. And then delta y is going to be 4 minus -2, which gives me 6. Then I take the ratio of the two, in this case 6 over 4, and that simplifies to 3 over 2. Now I check the next interval between 0 and 2. I get 2 minus 0 equals 2, and then I get 7 minus 4 equals 3. I take the ratio of delta y to delta x, I get 3 over 2, and that's as simple as it can get. And last but not least, I check it between 2 and 6. I get delta x is 4, and delta y is 6. I take the ratio again, I get 6 over 4, which simplifies to 3 over 2. So the rate of change for this table is 3 over 2. That tells me that y increases by 3 as x increases by 2. Now let's find the rate of change from a graph. So I'm given a graph here. I need to find 2 points on my graph that cross where grid lines meet at the corner of squares. So I find this point first and this point second. Any 2 points on the line will do. These are just 2 that I've chosen. Then I calculate delta y. I calculate delta y by counting the spaces up or down from my first point to get to my second point. In this case, delta y is equal to 5. And because I'm going up, my delta is positive. I'm increasing. My delta x goes to the right, and I count how many spaces I have to go from one point to the other in the x direction. In this case, delta x is equal to 8, and it's positive because I'm increasing my delta x. So I take the ratio of those two numbers. I get 5 over 8, and that can't be reduced, so my rate of change is 5 over 8. This tells me that my y value increases by 5 as my x value increases by 8. Now let's try it again with a different graph. So I pick 2 points, and then I calculate my delta y first. In this case, delta y is going down. Tells me it's going to be a -4 delta y since I'm decreasing. Delta x still goes to the right. I count the spaces, I get 9. So delta x is equal to +9. I find the ratio of delta y to delta x, I get -4 over 9. That tells me that my y value decreases by 4 as my x value increases by 9. Now let's calculate rate of change from a real-world example. At 4:45 p.m., my odometer read 215 miles. At 7:45 p.m., it read 395 miles. What is the rate of change for my trip in miles per hour? So in this case, I'm going to use delta dV over delta IV. And based on my units, I can tell that miles goes on top and hours goes on the bottom. So I calculate my delta miles, which is 395 minus 215, and I get 180, which goes on top. I calculate delta IV, I get 3 hours, which goes on the bottom. I divide the two and I get 60 miles per hour. So my rate of change is increasing by 60 miles for every hour that I drive. Well, that's the end of how to calculate rate of change. We find rate of change from ordered pairs and from a table by subtracting the second value from the first value on the x side and the y side, and then we divide delta y by delta x. We find rate of change from a graph by finding any 2 points on the line. Then we count spaces up or down to calculate delta y, count spaces left to right to find delta x. Finally, we divide delta y by delta x. And to find rate of change from a verbal description, we start by identifying the IV and dV based on the units of the answer. Then we calculate dV and IV by subtracting the starting value from the ending value. And finally, we divide the dependent variable by the independent variable to get our rate of change.
That's all, folks.